The thing that waited in the hallway. I never believed in ghosts. Even after we moved into that old apartment building on the edge of the city, I still didn't believe. The rent was cheap. Too cheap. That should have been the first sign. The building stood alone at the end of a narrow street. 4 floors, faded paint, broken nameplate. The landlord barely asked questions when I signed the lease. "Just don't wander at night," he said casually. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. The first night, the hallway outside my apartment was long and dimly lit. Only every second bulb worked. The carpet smelled old, like something damp had soaked into it years ago and never left. My apartment was 3B. Across from me was 3A. It was empty. At least that's what I thought. The first night, around 2:13 a.m., I woke up to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. Slow, dragging back and forth. I checked my phone. 上午2点13分 exactly. I ignored it. Old buildings make noise, I told myself. Pipes, wood, wind. But then the footsteps stopped right outside my door, and someone whispered, "Hello?" I froze. It was faint, like a dry throat trying to form a word. I didn't answer. After a few seconds, the footsteps continued, slowly fading down the hall. The next morning I checked outside. The hallway was empty, but the carpet in front of my door was wet, as if someone had been standing there in the rain. The neighbor. On the 3rd day, I finally saw someone else on my floor. An old woman from apartment 3C. She stared at me too long. "Did you hear it?" she asked. "Hear what?" She leaned closer. "It waits in the hallway." I laughed nervously. "What?" "It knocks on doors. If you answer, it learns your voice." A chill ran down my spine. "What is it?" She shook her head slowly. "He used to live in 3A." I turned to look at the empty apartment. The door was slightly open, just an inch. I was sure it had been closed before. The knocking. That night it happened again. Knock. 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 3 slow knocks. My heart pounded. "Hello?" a voice whispered. This time, it sounded clearer, closer, familiar. It sounded like me. Exactly like me. "Open the door." My breath caught in my throat. The voice outside repeated, "Open the door." But I hadn't spoken. I hadn't made a sound. I stayed silent. Minutes passed. Then suddenly, B-A-N-G. Something slammed against my door violently. The handle started shaking. I grabbed my phone to call the police. No signal. Wi-Fi gone. The lights flickered. And then everything went silent. Apartment 3A. The next morning, I decided I needed answers. The door to 3A was wide open. Inside, the apartment was empty. No furniture, no dust. But on the wall in the living room, there were scratch marks. Hundreds of them, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. And written between the scratches were words. Over and over again, "Don't answer." I heard something behind me, a soft inhale. I turned slowly. The hallway was empty, but at the far end, near the stairs, Something was standing there, tall, too tall, its head almost touching the ceiling, its body stretched unnaturally thin, and its face, it had no face, just smooth skin, except for one thing, its mouth. My mouth, smiling. It learns. That night I stayed awake. Silence. No footsteps. No knocking. Nothing. I almost felt relieved. Until my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered before I could stop myself. And I heard it. My own voice. Crying. Help me. Then screaming. And then a whisper. You answered. The lights went out. I heard something moving inside my apartment. Not outside, inside. From the hallway, slow footsteps, dragging back and forth. Closer, closer. I ran to the door. Locked. Windows. Locked. There was nowhere it could have entered. The footsteps stopped behind me. Right behind me, warm breath touched my neck, and a voice whispered, "Now I can't stay." The truth. The next morning, the building was quiet. Too quiet. Apartment 3B was empty. The landlord showed it to a new tenant. Cheap rent. No questions asked. Across the hall, 3A remained slightly open. At 2:13 a.m. that night, the new tenant heard footsteps. Slow, dragging back and forth. Then a knock. 3 times. "Hello?" a voice whispered. It sounded exactly like him. And somewhere in the hallway, something waited, smiling.
The new tenant's name was Daniel, cheap rent. The landlord handed him the keys and gave the same warning. Daniel laughed. The landlord didn't smile. He moved into 3B on a Thursday. No questions asked. Try to sleep early. I work nights. At 2:13 a.m., Daniel was wide awake, gaming with headphones on. That's why he didn't hear the footsteps at first. But he felt them. A vibration in the floor. Slow, dragging, back and forth. He paused his game, removed one ear cup. Silence. Then, knock, knock, knock. 3 slow knocks. Daniel rolled his eyes. Probably some drunk neighbor. He walked toward the door. Before he could reach it, a voice whispered from the hallway, "Daniel." He froze. He hadn't told anyone his name, not even the landlord. The voice sounded calm, soft, almost friendly. "Open the door, Daniel." His heart started racing. "Who is it?" he shouted. Silence, then softly, "You." Across the hall. The door to 3A was slightly open, just like before. Daniel stared at it. The hallway lights flickered. For a second, he thought he saw something move inside 3A, a shadow stretching unnaturally along the wall. Too tall, too thin. Watching him, the voice came again. But this time, from behind him, inside his apartment. "Don't turn around." His blood ran cold. He was facing the hallway. The apartment behind him was dark. The whisper was right at his ear. "Don't turn around." Slowly, against every instinct, he turned. The reflection. No one was there. But the mirror near the living room showed something else. Daniel's reflection stood still, even though he was breathing heavily. The reflection wasn't. It stared at him, smiling. Its mouth moved before his did. You answered. Daniel stumbled back. The reflection didn't move with him. It stayed in place, watching. Then it lifted its hand and knocked from inside the mirror 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. The sound echoed through the apartment. But the mirror surface didn't ripple. It was solid, normal, except for the reflection, which was now closer. The call. Daniel's phone rang. Unknown number. He didn't want to answer, but his hand moved on its own. He pressed accept, heavy breathing. Then a familiar voice. Daniel, it's me. It was his mother, but she had died 5 years ago. You left me alone, the voice whispered. Tears filled his eyes. That's not possible. The voice changed, glitched, layered, dozens of voices overlapping. You answer every time. The lights shut off, total darkness, except for the mirror. The reflection was glowing faintly, and it wasn't Daniel anymore. It was the tall thing from the hallway, faceless, except for Daniel's smile. 3A is not empty. The next morning, neighbors heard screaming from 3B. It lasted exactly 3 minutes, from 2:13 a.m. to 2:16 a.m. Then silence. When the landlord opened the apartment later, it was empty. No Danielle, no furniture, no phone, nothing. Across the hall, 3A was open. Inside 3A, there was now a mirror on the wall, and in the reflection, a man stood in apartment 3B, looking confused, knocking on a door that wouldn't open. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. And from the hallway outside, a whisper. Hello?